Hey, how's it going? My name is Wes and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to dive into our first verb that we will learn, which is the yellow lessons as I talked about in the previous video. So in this first verb lesson, we are going to go over the verb querer, which means to want. Alright, so for this lesson, I recommend grabbing your notebook and pen because this lesson is going to be an interesting one. Now, before we move on, what I recommend you to do is to take a minute and copy this table that you see on the screen right now. So pause the video right now if you want to, copy this same table. On the left we have the subject pronouns, the right side you can leave blank for now, and then once you're ready you can press play again. Alright, so now that we have our table noted down, let's get into the first conjugation of the verb querer. Now again, querer in Spanish means to want in English. So this is our first verb. Alright, so the first conjugation that we will learn is I want.
Yo quiero. Yo quiero.
So here we see that querer, the full verb, actually conjugates and turns into
Quiero.
and this happens because we are talking about yo. So in order to make a grammatically correct sentence, we turn it into yo quiero.
Yo quiero.
So now we can actually make a sentence. So for example, if I would want to say I want the pizza, now we know how to say I want. And now we can actually make a sentence because now we know how to say I want and the pizza is la pizza. So can you complete the sentence? I want the pizza.
Yo la pizza. Yo quiero la pizza. Yo quiero la pizza.
I want the pizza. So that's the conjugation for yo. Now let's look at the second conjugation we will learn, which is you want. In Spanish we say
Tú quieres. Tú quieres.
you want. And again, we can add this to our list as well. Alright, and so just as before, let's practice a bit with this conjugation as well. So instead of making a normal sentence, I actually want to make a question sentence as well. So, do you want the pizzas?
Tú las pizzas.
And you can also notice that if we talk about multiple pizzas, la becomes las and pizza becomes pizzas. So we add an s to la and to pizzas.
Tú las pizzas. ¿Tú quieres las pizzas? ¿Tú quieres las pizzas?
Alright, very good. Now with these practice sentences, don't worry if you don't know everything yet. For example, las pizzas is pretty obvious, but maybe we are going to go over some words or phrases that you don't really recognize yet. For now, don't worry about this. You don't need to remember these sentences. The reason why I put in these example sentences is because I want you to practice a bit and to get used to these different conjugations of the verbs. Alright, so then let's move on to the third conjugation. And the third conjugation is actually he, she, and you formal. In English we have he, she, it. However, because the word it as a subject pronoun does not exist in Spanish, we do not include it in here. And you can also see that we add you formal, which has the same conjugation as he and she. So, he, she, or you formal wants or want. So he, she wants or you formal want. In Spanish this is
Él, ella, usted quiere. Él quiere. Ella quiere. Usted quiere.
So it's pretty much the same as you want. However, we don't add the s at the end, so we leave it out. So quiere. Él quiere, ella quiere, usted quiere. Alright, and then another example sentence. So he wants the sandwich.
Él, el bocadillo. Él quiere el bocadillo.
He wants the sandwich. And
Ella quiere el bocadillo. Ella quiere el bocadillo.
and
Usted quiere el bocadillo. Usted quiere el bocadillo.
and again, this usted is just one person in a formal way. For example, when we talk to an older person. Alright, then the next conjugation is
Nosotros, nosotras queremos. Nosotros queremos. Nosotras queremos.
and I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but we actually lose the I between the U and the E. So before we had
Quiero, quieres, quiere.
And now if we talk about the we form, we actually lose that I. So
Nosotros, nosotras queremos.
We want. And then let's look at our example sentence. So, we want the menu.
Nosotros, el menú. Nosotros, el menú.
Which obviously becomes
Nosotros queremos el menú. Nosotros queremos el menú.
And with these practice sentences, make sure to repeat whatever you see out loud, because this will also help you improve your speaking ability in Spanish. So we want the menu.
Nosotros queremos el menú.
Or, of course, if we are a group of all females, then we can say
Nosotras queremos el menú.
we want the menu. Alright, so then the next conjugation, which is you want.
Vosotros, vosotras queréis. Vosotros queréis. Vosotras queréis.
And what's very important with this conjugation is that we add the accent on the E. And again, these subject pronouns are used in Spain, so if you want to learn them, learn them. If you don't want to learn them, then just skip over these ones. So again, we can add this to our notes.
Vosotros, vosotras queréis.
And then our example sentence, do you want the menus?
Vosotros, los menús. Vosotros, los menús.
So again, el menú becomes los menús when we talk about it in plural. And this sentence becomes
¿Vosotros queréis los menús? ¿Vosotros queréis los menús?
and because we have the question marks, we also need to talk like we're asking a question. So,
¿Vosotros queréis los menús?
or of course, if we're talking about all females, then we use vosotras. So, vosotras queréis los menús?
¿Vosotras queréis los menús?
And as you can see, we're actually making a lot of progress already, because now we know how to say I want, he wants, she wants, we want, you want. And if we keep practicing these and keep learning more conjugations, then eventually we will go over all of the most important ones that we use very often, and then we can use them to form proper sentences, and before we know it, we are speaking Spanish. Alright, so 2 more verb conjugations to go. The first one is ustedes, which is you, formal in Spanish, or you informal, or also formal in Latin America. So, you want.
Ustedes quieren. Ustedes quieren.
So for the example sentence, let's use coffee as an example. So if we want to ask, do you want coffee, or would you like to have coffee? We can say,
Ustedes, café. Ustedes, café.
which of course is,
¿Ustedes quieren café? ¿Ustedes quieren café?
and then again, because there's question marks, we use a different tonation. So not ustedes quieren café, which means you want coffee, but ustedes quieren café in more of a questionable manner to help others understand that I'm asking a question.
¿Ustedes quieren café?
And then the last conjugation, which is they want.
Ellos, ellas quieren. Ellos quieren. Ellas quieren.
So as you can see, it's actually the same as ustedes. And with all the verbs that we will learn, you will always see that ustedes and ellos or ellas actually has the same conjugation. And so if you would want to, you could actually learn these together. However, what I found to be most effective is if you learn them separately from each other, because this avoids any confusion. So now we can add this to the list to complete our first verb, querer. And of course, we will also look at an example sentence. So, they want coffee.
Ellos, café.
Of course, becomes
Ellos quieren café.
they want coffee. Or ellas quieren café, if we were talking about a feminine group.
Ellas quieren café.
Alright, so now we have our full list of different ways to conjugate the verb querer, which means to want in Spanish. And that's actually all that we will learn in this lesson. What I now recommend you to do is to practice these different conjugations before moving on to the next lesson. So you can do this any way you want to. I recommend using a technique that I talked about before, which are flashcards. But if you find that something else works better for you, of course, please make sure to use that method. And here we have another example of how the endings of the verb change. So in the beginning you say that it's yo quiero, so with an O at the end. Then when we talk about tú quieres, we add an es, él, ella, usted, quiere, and so forth. And we also lose the I as soon as we start talking about nosotros or nosotras. So if you want to mark this down, you can do so. You don't have to, but this might help you to learn the different types of conjugations. All right, and then before we end this lesson, I actually have some practice sentences that you can use to practice the conjugations. So in the blank spaces, you can write what you think are the right conjugations. And then in a couple of seconds from now, I'll show you the right answers. So if you want to practice, make sure to pause right now and then hit play again once you're ready. All right, so these are the answers. And that's also it for this video. Now, I want you to recognize how much we have already learned in just these last 11 lessons. If we keep going bit by bit, lesson by lesson, we will keep learning new verbs, new words, new vocabulary, new grammar rules, and eventually we will actually be able to have a fluent conversation in Spanish. And as I said before, verbs might not be the most fun thing to learn, but verbs are very important for your learning journey because verbs really are the backbones of any sentence you will be making. So you want to make sure to put extra attention into studying the verbs. And the good thing about language learning is that you only really have to learn something once, and then you can use it for the rest of your life. So if you invest some extra time in yourself right now to learn all of this, then it will pay off for the rest of your life. And that's the beautiful thing about language learning and also part of the reason why I'm making these videos. All right, so that's it for this lesson. I hope everything was helpful. Again, if you have any questions or if you want to go over all of the information once again, you can do so by going to my website, SpanishWithWes.com. Again, as always, I'll provide a link in the description below which you can click on. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Hasta la próxima.